have to confess something. I am genuinely blown away by what I see on a daily basis. For years, I thought we were centuries away from seeing anything close to the technology of Pacific Rim. The Jaegers, the Neuralink, those colossal structures moving with the fluidity of a human body. I always saw all of that as pure fantasy, things that only exist in the mind of Guillermo del Toro. But lately, I'm not so sure anymore, because what I'm seeing today, not in movies, not in special effects studios, but in real videos, filmed in real factories, looks like it was taken directly from a future that arrived without warning. And that forced me to ask the question I never thought I would take seriously outside of a movie screen. What if we are not that far from building a Jaeger? To understand if it is possible, we first have to understand where we stand, and this is where most people get confused. During the last decade, we let ourselves be dazzled by the videos from Boston Dynamics. We saw their robots doing parkour and dancing. They were impressive, yes, but if we analyze it with Pacific Rim logic, those robots were pure brute hydraulics. They were a pre-programmed choreography. There was no pilot. There was no improvisation. The true leap toward a Jaeger is happening right now, and it is much more subtle, but infinitely more important. Companies like Figure or Tesla with its Optimus have put aside the acrobatics to focus on something that is the foundation of the drift: neural learning. They have swapped heavy hydraulic systems for electric actuators that mimic muscles. And most importantly, they have swapped code-written scripts for artificial intelligent neural networks that learn to move by observing humans. This is crucial, because to build a Jaeger, you do not just need a strong robot. You need a robot that understands human movement. Boston Dynamics taught us how to build the metal chassis, but this new generation is teaching us how to build the nervous system that connects it. We are no longer seeing machines that execute orders. We are seeing the birth of the connection between the human mind and the synthetic body.
Now, let's assume we solve the software. Let's assume we have the drift. Can we build it tomorrow? The short answer is no. And it is not technology's fault. It is physics' fault. This is where we hit a wall called the square-cubed law. If you took a human-sized robot and simply made it 50 times bigger, it would collapse under its own weight before taking the first step. Current steel and titanium simply cannot handle that scale. But materials science is advancing faster than ever. We are no longer limited to metal. We are entering the era of supermaterials. We are talking about graphene alloys, carbon nanotubes, and metal foams that are as strong as steel but weigh 10 times less. A Jaeger made of iron is impossible, but a Jaeger made of next-generation carbon compounds remains incredibly difficult, huge, and expensive, but it has stopped being impossible.
Now, there is a detail I read over and over again in the comments from new people coming to the channel. Why on earth didn't they use conventional heavy weaponry against the kaijus? And this has an explanation that goes beyond "it looks cool." You have to understand the real goal of the kaijus. Their mission wasn't to conquer territories immediately. It was attrition. They wanted to weaken humanity with constant attacks, generate chaos, death, and economic destabilization. If humanity had decided to use nuclear weapons constantly, we would have accelerated that process double or triple the speed. We would have destroyed our own cities in order to save them. We would have done the precursors' dirty work for them. Now, many say, okay, no nukes, but put bigger guns on the tanks. And yes, that would make tactical sense. But here we enter the uncomfortable truth we sometimes forget. If the conventional military could solve the problem with tanks and jets, the Jaegers would lose their purpose. The narrative of Pacific Rim works because humanity has no other choice. Humanity poured all its resources, its money, and its hope into these giants. An absolute dependency was created. The premise is simple and terrifying. When the Jaegers fail, humanity fails too. Now, if we want to nitpick, sure, we can find holes in the plot.
But narratively, we needed to see humanity betting its last chip on two pilots inside a machine. That is the final message. It is not a story about efficient weapons. It is a story about our last line of defense and how we do not give up despite having absolutely everything stacked against us.
And to close, I want to be totally honest with you. It was right after researching the physics and materials for this video that I started seeing the real cracks in Pacific Rim. Narratively, there is a massive paradox. We are presented with a society capable of creating Jaegers, machines of divine complexity, with neural links and portable nuclear reactors, but ironically, the rest of the world does not seem technologically advanced. They still use old helicopters, analog Jaegers, and worn-out facilities. It is a huge contradiction, a great area of opportunity in the script. But here is where Guillermo del Toro's mastery comes in. His aesthetic is so precious, full of details, rust, and neon lights, that it manages to hide it all perfectly. It hypnotizes us so we do not ask so many logical questions. And if there is one thing we agree on, it is that, despite being an incredible movie, Pacific Rim is not perfect. Well, no movie is. But I suppose in part it is thanks to that we find beauty in it. Because we do not fall in love with technical perfection. We fall in love with the humanity trying to survive, even when the script has cracks. In the end, I think that is why we are still obsessed with this topic. It is not just because giant robots are visually striking. It is because they represent something deeply human. Our stubbornness. Since we lived in caves, we have invented tools to face predators larger than us. The Jaeger is nothing more than the definitive version of that primitive spear. It is the physical manifestation of our refusal to die in silence. It is the proof that even when we face gods, monsters, or hurricanes, we prefer to build a 1,000-ton iron fist rather than kneel. Engineering tells us we are close. Physics tells us it will be difficult. But human history tells us we will do it anyway. Now, I ask you, if tomorrow we woke up with the news that the first real Jaeger is under construction, would you feel hope or fear? Leave me your opinion in the comments because, believe me, I will be reading every theory. And if you like questioning the line between science fiction and reality as much as I do, subscribe because we are just firing up the engines. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And always remember that if you wish to keep receiving unique and interesting content, you just have to subscribe. I am Cyber, and this is the Cyber Zone, so I will see you in the next video.